How would you like to live to 100 years of age, happy and in good health? Well, you're about to discover some secrets on this segment of Live Healthy Longer. And here's our host, wellness expert, author, and popular podcaster, Dr. Jim Polakof.
I'm Dr. Jim Polakof, and welcome to another episode of Live Healthy Longer. Now, if you're 55 or older, well, you're halfway there. Yes, halfway to living 100 years or more. But you don't have to take my word for it. Instead, you're about to meet my guest, Dr. Joe Casciani, founder of the Living to 100 Club. Dr. Joe has worked as a psychologist for more than 30 years, and his specialty is geriatric mental health. And seeing the challenges that arise as we get older, he decided to share his discoveries about aging successfully, and he's going to share that with you. Now, Dr. Joe created the Living to 100 Club as both a news hub and a community for those with a passion for healthy aging, both physically and mentally. So let's get right to it and meet this extraordinary man. Welcome, Dr. Joe Casciani.
Thank you for the invitation to be on your program. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Yeah.
All right. Well, so are we. I think you have a lot to offer, and so I want to be sure that our listeners understand that fully. One of the things that you had mentioned that I think is very important, we're talking about stereotypes. Can we begin by what do you see the stereotype views about getting older are? I mean, there are so many, but I know that people have that same stereotype image. How would you describe it?
Yeah. Well, it's as we have heard so many times that getting older means decline, physical decline, mental decline, retreat, isolation. And, this stereotype has been around for many years. Unfortunately, I think it's lifting. I think it's going away. But the whole notion that getting older would mean a time to slow down, a time to look at pulling back. My body's going to get weaker. I'm going to become dependent. I'm going to be helpless eventually. I'm going to be more needy. And I think that was the prevalent attitude about getting older up until maybe 15 or 20 years ago. And another component of that is what we call internalized ageism. So it's not just that younger people would see older adults as this kind of natural decline, but we internalize that, and many people felt they saw themselves that decline is inevitable, that slowing down, that retreat, that physical loss is just an inevitable part of aging. And that's just as harmful as when others see it, as when we see it ourselves in ourselves. So that's lifting. That's a good thing. It's going away. And there are a lot of people who've done great work over the years to dispel those ageist stereotypes. Yeah.
Do you feel, I'm just curious, with younger people, I mean, do you feel this ageism still exists to a great degree here in our country, where we feel that after a certain age, someone's over the hill and they don't have much more to contribute? How prevalent do you think that is among the youth of our country?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think it is prevalent. I think it's certainly too prevalent. And, there's a lot of reasons for that. I think the, separation from, geographically, families are more dispersed than ever. And years ago, we would, live in the same household or be closer to our grandparents. And there's a whole focus now on this multi-generational aging, multi-generational approach to kind of removing that stereotype, where we could, get involved with mentoring young children, and older adults can be volunteers in school, and there's more of a mix. There's more of this intergenerational kind of conversation, and older adults learning from younger adults and vice versa. So I think there's a whole push toward kind of removing some of those stereotypes in the younger generations about getting older. Yeah.
And I think it's also important because you come from a background, as we mentioned in the introduction, as a caregiver, I mean, you've worked with caregivers, you've trained. I mean, you have a training program that really is, I think, a substantial addition to what we need here in this country. But there is that stereotype. We both have an Italian heritage, as we discussed earlier, uh, and in Italy. I just know that my family members, when we go over there and we visit, and right now I'm probably one of the older ones at my age,
Hmm.
but even the young people have a certain reverence
Yeah.
for those who age because they feel that there is a wisdom that they've gained. And hopefully, caregivers uh, can sometimes be a little harsh, I believe, when they're and run out of patience when they're helping their
Yeah.
older counterparts. So, hopefully that is changing. I think that's so important that I just have seen some caregivers in action that don't seem to have the patience that they really should. And I know that's something you do, if I'm right, aside from your Living 100 Club.
Yeah.
You really work with these people, don't you?
Yeah, I have. I've seen that. I've seen that for many years working in long-term care settings. And a lot of it is the systemic problem that uh, caregivers, nurses' aides, CNAs, they're really overworked. And, they're assigned very difficult patients under their care. And they don't have the patience, they don't have the time, they don't. I say pay now or pay later. If you spend a few minutes now, you'll save twice as much time down the road. But that's easy to say, and it's hard to implement. I still do training for caregivers, and I hear some of the same frustrations that they don't have enough time to really understand. And I haven't spent any time outside of the U.S., but I've spent time in a lot of states. My group practice was in 8 states, and I would go to nursing homes all over, and it was just very clear that um, patients did not get the respect and reverence that they were due, but partly systemic, I think. Yeah.
So, Dr. Joe, once we hit that mid 50 mark, what are the leading challenges, in your opinion, do we need to prepare for, especially if we're going to age in good health and live independently? What are some of
Yeah.
those challenges you see?
Yeah, well, we know there are changes, physical changes, cognitive changes that occur with normal aging. And a lot of that has to do with, physical decline of, our senses, our visual acuity, our hearing declines, muscle decline, muscles weaken, and some cardiovascular changes, and it can produce high blood pressure. Our immune system doesn't work as well. We can't fight off disease and we don't heal as quickly as when we were younger. Cognitively, mentally, there's changes in our memory, of course, mostly short term memory. Processing speed, problem solving might take a little bit longer, it might be slower. There's what we call executive functioning, planning, and decision making. Some of that can be impacted by age, not necessarily because some of the well retained skills are in decision making and planning and problem solving. But there are also emotional changes. There's some problems difficult, managing our emotional regulation. We don't control emotions. Now that's not always part of the picture. I think more prominent are the physical changes, the sensory loss. Um, those are the changes that are more prominent. And again, it's like how do we prepare and how do we adjust? And I think it's all about adjusting and adapting to these changes. To me, I talk about successful aging, and living to 100 is great. That's the name of my business, Living to 100 Club. But it's more than a destination. It's a great goal, but we're not all going to make it to 100. But we can stay positive while trying, and that's my thing. Let's maintain the outlook and the attitude about doing everything I can to stay positive, get over those challenges, no matter what gets in the way. That represents successful aging to me. No matter what gets in the way, staying positive.
And of
Yeah,
course, the quality of life itself, very important.
of
If you're going to
course.
live longer, you want a quality of life so you don't have to feel sick or you don't have to feel that you need to sit in the corner of a room and hide because you
Yeah,
just aren't quite as sharp as you used to be. That positivity is so important, I think.
yeah,
Um,
I agree, Jim. Yeah.
so tell us about your Living to 100 Club. Uh, I think that's fascinating. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm trying to envision the Living to 100 Club, and I mean, do you have meetings that people attend, or I mean, if we join, are you're going to assure us that we live to 100? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about
No, I
it.
often joke that if I don't make it to 100, I'm going to ask for a refund on my club dues. Yeah.
There you go.
No, it's a virtual club. I don't have any formal membership or meetings. Uh, it's really just being, kind of being connected to my website and signing up for my email list and newsletters and podcasts. But it's all about, I have on my business card education and inspiration about aging well. So it is helping people understand that there's new science, there's new tools, there's new evidence about staying healthy longer, what we can do to live longer, educating people about the importance of our attitude and outlook. And secondly, offering inspiration because it's easy to become discouraged. It's easy to say, "Oh, gee, I'm losing my friends. I have to give up my home. I've got to move to another place. My pet, I can't drive anymore." It's easy to become really discouraged and cite some stories about other people who have, kind of flipped that switch and let go of that negative outlook and shifted to a positive outlook. If we have time, I'll tell a quick story about Steve Jobs.
Oh,
A
good. That's a
brilliant,
good one.
brilliant engineer, marketing person. He founded Apple, of course. Well, I read a biography of him by Walter Isaacson, and Steve Jobs was adopted, right?
Yes, he
found,
was.
he found out he was adopted when he was about 10 or 11, and he was crushed. He was just devastated. He said, how could my own parents, my own biological mother, give me up for adoption? I must be totally worthless. I can't have any value as a person. So Steve's adopted parents found out about that thinking, and he said, no, 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 Steve. When we saw you as an infant in the hospital, you were the most important person to us in the world. We couldn't imagine living without you. So there was Steve Jobs going from I'm the most worthless person to now I'm the most important person. And the adoptive parents didn't give him any new skills or talents. It was that shift, almost like a light switch that was flipped. And he went from being the most worthless to now being the most important. So I say a lot of what's going on in our thinking and our attitude is so powerful. So imagine if Steve Jobs never had that conversation with his adoptive parents. Uh,
He could have been very discouraged and lackluster in what he tried to do in
yeah,
life.
maybe no Apple, no iPad, no
No Apple.
iMac,
No.
no iPhone. We'd all be using Blackberries and Palm Pilot.
A good point.
Yeah.
So, but your Living 100 Club, looking into it, I don't looking at your website and what you've written about it. It seems to me that you really have community there, even though people aren't part of a club. You really seem to, um, shall we say, propel the feeling of community.
I hope so. I hope so, Jim. It's hard to tell. I maintain that this, like I said, it's not a smooth road. And I don't portray all having all the answers about wellness and, proper diet, nutrition, and fitness activities, exercise. Yeah, we know a lot about living longer and what those ingredients are. And I maintain, well, what happens when we hit those bumps? It's not a smooth road. We have losses. We lose a spouse. We fall and break our hip. We have a stroke. All kinds of things going on for the person. But what impact? So this theme kind of comes through my blogs and comes through my newsletters and my writing and my speaking. I love to speak to senior groups, but it's this theme about yeah, we're going to face these challenges, but let's learn to cope with them. Let's learn ways to deal and overcome the challenge. That to me is, the essence of my Living to 100 Club.
Well, that really leads me to, I'm impressed. You've got a very fascinating resource that you offer, and I was quite impressed with it. It's called Your Guide to Aging with Purpose and Positivity. Now, actually, it's a fun guide. I think it's something we could all enjoy doing. Uh, I mean, after all, we all enjoy playing cards. Of course, it's more than a game. I think
Yeah.
it's an insight into yourself, but this is a card game that's designed to help you live better, longer, and healthier. So, how did you come up with this idea and why cards? How does
Yeah.
this work?
Well, years ago, many years ago, I won a contract with the California Department of Aging. I was awarded a contract, my partner and I, and the contract involved writing a training manual on mental health topics for nursing homes in California. So we did this, we wrote the manual, and we brought it around to 30 workshops around the state. And it was really a set of chapters on different mental health topics for nursing homes. So we wanted to raise the awareness, raise the consciousness about the importance of mental health. So after I sold my nursing home practice a few years ago, I wanted to do something similar. I wanted to write another manual, but this is for people still living maybe in the community or people living in senior living settings, higher functioning. And I had this notion of, well, I'll just write another training manual. So I found this graphic designer, really good, really great, very talented guy in San Diego. And we sat down and planned this, new project. And he said, Joe, people don't read manuals anymore. Let's do card decks. Let's create a series of modules on different themes, and I had 10 or 12 themes in mind. So let's create these boxes, and they'll have cards, and they can pull out cards and have different activities or stories or links to YouTube videos. So that was the genesis of it. That was about a year and a half ago. So he created the template, he created the boxes, and I created the copy. I created the text. I found a good copy editor in Minnesota, and I would send her the content for each card, and she would fit it into the card size. And they're only 4x7, 4x7 inches. But the really unique thing about the uh, cards is that each card has a little QR code at the bottom. So because you can only fit so much information in 2 paragraphs, I would link the original or the source of that article or video or story to the source. And so people can read.
To expand upon what the card said.
Exactly. So
Right. Interesting.
it's wide open. Yeah. So people can click on the QR code and go to that and learn more about it, or watch the video, or hear the interview, or learn a story. So yeah, and then it's just flowed from there. We said we're going to have 4 sections. We're going to have one section just what are called key thoughts, kind of a short, quick lesson plans. Um, anyway, there's 4 sections. The first 2 are really to educate the person, the user.
Right. You have 4 categories, I believe,
Yeah,
correct?
4 categories, right. The
All
first
right.
2 key thoughts, and then deep dive is more more content, more information, um, maybe a longer article or whatever that particular topic is. And then 3 and
Now,
4.
is the deep dive, for example, is that more geared towards mental agility to get your mind working so you stay sharper?
No, it's just more information, Jim. It's just the first section is more summary. The deep dive is more in-depth information. So if they want to learn about this particular, maybe living longer or what healthy lifestyles are or blue zones, they can go to the deep dive and really expand their knowledge about that. That's the knowledge deep dive section.
Okay.
And then 3 and 4, activities and inspiration. So it's depending on how much you want. If you don't want very much, if you just want to kind of create an activity, you go to that section. If you're really interested in learning more and maybe developing some knowledge or, maybe preparing for, some educational career, you can go and get more in-depth
Can you
information.
give us an example? Let's take the inspiration. We're all looking for inspiration, particularly as we age.
Yeah.
Can you give
Yeah.
me an example of
Sure.
your
Yeah. So
inspiration?
your listeners can't see this, but I'll go to number one, which is what we know about living longer and healthier. So there's 60 cards in the box, four sections, and just going to the inspirational stories, I can give you a couple of examples. One is a video of a 92-year-old tango dancer. She loves tango dancing, and the video is her and her partner doing a tango. And,
And this is not Al Pacino, correct?
no,
Remember
no,
the movie?
well, maybe he's the partner.
Yeah, right.
But another one is a video about Joanna Quas. Joanna passed away recently, but she set a world record at age 95 as the world's oldest gymnast. And there's a link to this video of Joanna going for her practice and then performing. It's only a short video, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. But this is the whole notion of let's let go of that number. Let's put that chronological age in the background because it doesn't say any much. It doesn't say very much about what a person should or shouldn't be doing. That's my point. 92-year-olds can be doing tango dancing and can be doing gymnastics, right? So 92 age is not so important.
That's
Yeah,
what yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
love the
yeah,
inspirational aspect
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Another obviously category is called key thoughts and lessons. And
Yes.
I noticed that one of the topics is titled 10 Ways to Build Resilience. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, resilience is really an important and very important topic and theme that's around a lot these days. There's a lot of buzz about resilience, and basically it's can we get back up after we get knocked down? And what are the ingredients? What makes for a resilient person? And that particular card talks about some of the research and what scientists have found that what goes into how does the resilient person different from the non-resilient person? And what are the qualities? And can this be learned or can it be uncovered? I think we have these qualities inside. It needs to be tapped and it needs to be uncovered just like our, we call it that fire or grit inside, that resilience. I say we all have it. Some people have said, no, I don't have it. I'm done. I don't have any more. I can't get up off the mat. And I maintain as long as we're taking a breath, we can still tap into that resilience, that fire, that juice, that energy, that motivation, whatever we want to call it. It's always there. Sometimes people feel like it's blocked or, it's gone, it's been used up. And I say it's bottomless. It's always there. So that particular card, I mean, there's 60 cards in each deck, and that particular card talks about what are the qualities of resilience and how can we foster that in other people.
Well, that's important. You give a solution. Your cards not only throw something out, but they give a solution,
Oh
correct?
yeah, yeah. Here's what we know. Here's what we found. Here's what we can do to build on this. And you know, just another example. There's some cards on in this first module on what we know about living longer. The numbers of centenarians in the U.S. Um, what's the difference between health span and lifespan? Lifespan is how long we're living, and health span is how long we're living healthy. So what's the
Do you
gap?
have any statistics on that out of curiosity?
Well, what
I'm
we're
assuming the
finding,
lifespan is much longer.
yeah, the gap is growing, which is unfortunate. We got a longer gap between, health span that's living without disability and then living. So the bigger that gap, the more years we have with disability.
Just
So
exactly.
yeah,
So you again offer solutions. These cards offer solutions as to what you can do to obviously close that gap, correct?
yeah, yeah, of course. And
Right.
what we've learned from others, this first module is I devote several cards to the blue zones. What have we learned about the centenarians living in the blue zone? Most of your listeners have probably heard of the blue zones, and the five areas. Well, now there's six around the world where people, relative to the general population, there's more centenarians. And what have we learned from these centenarians, and what are the characteristics? They all have very similar lifestyles in these five or six blue zones.
Actually, Dr. Joe, what we're talking about is what the cards are going to reveal is you don't necessarily need to move to one of these blue zones to take advantage of how these people are living longer healthy.
Right.
You actually give the advice of what you can do where you live to adopt the same
Yeah.
living standards,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly. Here's what we've learned. Here's what we've learned.
All
And
right.
we can adopt some of these same. I mean, we hear about the ingredients all the time. It's the lifestyle, the healthy eating, social engagement, staying connected with your community. One of the important ingredients is having a sense of meaning and purpose, something that brings a feeling of reward. It puts a smile on your face when you wake up in the morning. The centenarians all have that sense of meaning. Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a, musical instrument, or maybe it's writing, or maybe volunteering at the community or the church. I bought myself a set of drums about 4 years ago. I've never played a musical instrument. And during COVID, I said, well, maybe anyway, I bought some electronic drums, so nobody can hear it unless you're wearing the headset. My
Mhm.
wife doesn't get to enjoy my drumming, and my neighbors don't get to enjoy it. But I love it, and I'm taking live lessons now. But who knows? I think it's important to challenge ourselves and to kind of create new cognitive lessons and learning new things, learning a new language, going back to school. That's those are some of the things in my cards that we've learned from others about living longer and living healthier.
So once a participant or participants complete all of the decks, all of the four categories,
Mm.
what can they expect as an end result? What do you see happening if someone goes through your entire program?
Well, a lot of things. It depends who's using the cards. I really wrote them for kind of senior living communities. I've been around a number of them to see that there are a number of residents who are engaged, and there are also a number who tend to be more withdrawn and stay in their apartments and do not participate in all the programs. I mean, the programs are great. They really have great yoga programs and exercise and history lessons and, you know, um, any number of really important activities. But I've seen so many times where individuals do not participate. Maybe they're not so social, or maybe they're uncomfortable in these new settings. So one of the decks that I created, one of the modules, is how to increase social engagement and connection.
So
Uh,
important, particularly for seniors.
I think so. I mean, we've heard about the epidemic of loneliness from the Surgeon General just last year. He released that report. Now, that's not to say that staying by yourself is necessarily bad, or there's psychological problems with it. People sometimes just want to be solo. They want to be solitary, and I'm not saying everybody should be social, but um, if there are some ways to help a person learn to be more engaged. So, I talk about coping skills. One of the modules talks about how to deal with setbacks, how to deal with losses, how do we how to create some more effective ways to cope with these changes. Um, what can we do about um, the whole topic of neuroplasticity? I think that's a growing area of interest, and that involves the science of um, understanding that our brain is capable of growing. Decades ago, we thought the brain was static, and if something happened, that meant the person's, functioning in that area was declining. Well, we know now that the brain can create new neural pathways.
So someone's, so for example, suffering from a form of dementia, whether it be Alzheimer's or one of the other many forms, uh, actually your brain, rather than just standing still or deteriorating, can actually expand to new, shall we say, certainly a new width to allow more intelligence to come forward or more. In other words, you can overcome whatever dementia problem you might have. Is that what we're learning?
Yeah. Well, that's a conversation that has to do more with reversible dementias versus irreversible dementias. And there's some great research on what are called modifiable risk factors for dementia. Certain conditions like toxins in the air, um, certain physical chronic disease like diabetes and obesity, hearing loss. Some of these conditions can contribute to dementia that is marked by confusion and memory loss and disorientation. And if we treat those conditions, that dementia can remit, it can reverse. Now, Alzheimer's disease, I think the jury's still out about reversing Alzheimer's and um, vascular dementia, Lewy body, frontotemporal dementias. Those are more disease related. The neuroplasticity comes into play a lot with maybe accident victims. Uh, if they've that's where we learned about being able to help a person learn to kind of move their right arm after an accident when years ago we never believed that. So the comment is when the bridge is out, we learn a new way, a new path. That's what the brain can do, and that's neuroplasticity. The brain wants novelty, and that's where it comes in for older adults. That's why that's why it's so good to take classes, to take courses, learn a new language, learn some new skills. The brain wants novelty, and the more we do that, the healthier we are.
So that leads me to a comment that you made, and I'd like you to expound upon it if you would. And that is, you contend there is scientific proof that age is only a number. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. Chronological age is the number of years we've been around, the number of times um, that the Earth has revolved around the sun. And chronological age doesn't change, but there are at least two other ways to define age. And one is biological age. That's different from chronological age. Biological age refers to how fast our body is aging relative to our years. Our tissues and organs and body systems aging faster. That's biological age. And scientists use what are called biomarkers. They can tell from biomarkers, is the heart, is the circulatory system, or is the endocrine system, or the GI system, is that aging faster than normal? That's biological age. And then the third one, which is, I think, the most important, is it's health age. And health age refers to how old we think we are, right? How old we think our body is.
So it's a mental thing?
Yeah, mental thing. And there's a lot of research, Jim. There's a lot of research showing people who think they're younger than their chronological age are healthier. They take more actions for preventive health. They perform better on tests of memory. They have fewer chronic diseases. So when a person has this kind of positive health age, they see themselves as 70 instead of 80, they are healthier.
So you're talking about being proactive, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, proactive. And the belief that I'm really healthy, our beliefs are so powerful. What we tell to ourselves, what's going on in our heads, the negatives or the positives, It's so powerful. I can tell you just a quick exercise that I do in large groups. I divide the room into right half and left half, or everybody on the right side. You're the optimist. Put your optimism hat on and look around the room and find everything that's good about it. Maybe the plants are healthy, the sunlight's coming in, the fixtures, the furniture is comfortable, everything that's good. All right, and everybody on the other side of the room, you're the pessimist. Put your pessimism hat on. And now you look around and find everything that's wrong with the room. Maybe scratches on the walls or stains on the carpet or some furniture that's broken. And then I, reconvene after a couple minutes and I ask for feedback. And I get the positives and I get the negatives. And then I say, look, it's the same room. What are
Mhm.
you looking for? If you're looking for what's good, you're going to find it. If you're looking for what's wrong, you'll find that too. And that's how I view our attitudes about getting older. There are a lot of things that we can't cannot do anymore that we regret or lament, but there's still a lot of things that we can do. Um, things we don't have, and there's things that we do have. So let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on what's right. And yeah, there's things that we cannot do anymore. Yeah, we can't do anything about that. But let's put the spotlight on what's good about aging. So that's the notion of health age and seeing ourselves as still capable in so many ways, and we can expect more of ourselves. Maybe the problem is that we believe getting older means decline, and I say let's shift that around. Maybe getting older means opportunity and new ways to enjoy our new ways to look forward to our future.
Well, before today, I never would have believed we could find answers in a deck of cards. But certainly, I think you provided us some good insight. I really feel that our listeners need to know more about how they can access these cards because it's such an excellent program, such an excellent stimulant that you're discussing. So, Dr. Joe, tell us exactly where do we go to find out more about not only more about you and your podcasts and things of that nature, but also about how we get involved with your cards and acquire them.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Jim. I have a website that I've kind of created, and it's a collection of my articles and my podcasts. I'm up to about almost 250 podcasts now, and I love every one. I just had you on as my guest. I love doing so people can go to my library. There's a new landing page, and when you go to my main website, livingto100.club, not .org or .com, but livingto100.club.
Oh,
You can learn all about my podcasts and my blogs and my public speaking. And there's a new landing page called BLH, Better, Longer, and Happier. That's the title of this series of 12 modules. Go to my landing page and you'll learn about all the topics, the 12 modules, some examples. I got some testimonials. And I'm actually working on a new online store where people can go directly to the store and learn about, see some videos, learn about the content of the cards. And that's a different address. That's livingto100.solutions. Livingto100.solutions. That's my online store. And that's right in the middle of being revised. So if people come back in a week, probably after November 7th or so, it should be fully completed and really a very pleasing online store. So, yeah, livingto100.club for my website and livingto100.solutions for my online store.
so you've thrown a few things at us, and how
Yeah,
quickly my listeners are able to assimilate it or write it down. The
yeah.
good news is that all of this information is going to be available, I should say, on our website,
Oh,
Live
great.
Healthy Longer. The good thing about that is people do access our website to look for things because we've always got things that are new and different.
Mhm.
So when they come to the website, they're going to be able to find all of these
Wow.
links that you've described.
Yeah.
But the main link, if they want to get to you to begin with, because that's going to uh, that's certainly going to lead to other aspects of what you offer.
Sure.
Again, say it one more time.
livingto100.club.
livingto100.club. And that's going to
Yeah.
really take us to other places to go, correct?
Yeah, that's the main website. And you can go to my landing page for Better, Longer, and Happier series. The second address is livingto100.solutions. That's the online store. And if people want to email me, info@livingto100.club. Happy to take emails, and people can reach me that way too.
Well, wonderful. Well, very enlightening. And we're certainly going to be playing cards together. I can see that. But I
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Joe Casciani, for being our guest. This has been, again, very enlightening. I thank you for your time. And again, I'm going to remind our listeners, all you need to do is come to our website, and all of the links that Dr. Joe has mentioned are going to be right there for you.
Yeah. Well, you're
All right,
most welcome, Tim. You're most welcome. Thanks so much, and I appreciate your interest in my new series, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be on your program. It means a lot.
Well, we appreciate you being here. And for our audience, I'll be right back with you for some aging health tips.
For more information about Dr. Joe Casciani and his Living to 100 Club, visit our website, jamespolakof.com. That's James, Polakof.com. Also, at our website, you can find many excellent, lively podcasts, as well as discover the secrets of living to 100 and beyond in Dr. James Polakof's new book, Live Healthy Longer with Dr. Jim. Dr. Jim's new book provides you with insights to preventing heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. You'll also discover ways to lose weight for good, eliminate back pain and arthritis, all while managing stress. And since there's now proof with intimacy and sexual fulfillment you can live longer and healthier, Dr. Jim's book has devoted 3 exciting, stimulating chapters on these subjects. Live Healthy Longer with Dr. Jim is now available on Amazon. Visit Amazon.com. For further information, visit our website, jamespolakof.com. That's James, Polakof.com. Now back to Dr. Jim.
Again, I want to express my appreciation to Dr. Joe Casciani for joining us. And since we're on the subject, I'd like to share a few healthy aging tips with you. First of all, you should be focusing on minimally processed foods as close to their natural form as possible. Also, it's a good idea to go for color-rich fruits like berries and melons. And when it comes to veggies, you ought to be choosing antioxidant-rich, dark leafy greens. I'll give you some examples: kale, spinach, and broccoli. And pick colorful vegetables such as carrots and squash. And make veggies more appetizing by drizzling them with olive oil and sprinkling goat cheese. Sometimes the preparation makes all the difference. And choose calcium for bone, nerve, hormone, and muscle health, all of those that decline with age. And finally, fish. Yes, I mean fish, for healthy fats with omega-3s to protect your body against disease and support mood and brain function. And the best sources for omega-3s come from fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and even tuna. As I mentioned, you can find more about healthy eating as we age in my new book, Live Healthy Longer with Dr. Jim. It's available at Amazon.com. So again, this is Dr. Jim Polakof signing off, and I want to thank you for joining me. And be sure to look for new episodes of Live Healthy Longer.